Uh-oh. Dude, delete this. Delete this. Delete this. Delete this. Is Hasan CIA? CIA beanie. Are they the same person? CIA Dude, delete this. Delete this. I wore it one time. Stop. Guys, no. Shut up. Stop it. CIA Harris at it again. Oh, U.S. military is planning for a war with China. Oh, oh, shit. Here we go again, dude. You know, listen. Johnny Harris had to do one good video so he could do like 10 ones where he's like,
let's invade Taiwan.
Here's why Taiwan needs to be defended with military force and perhaps nuclear weapons. You know what I mean? Let's start with this.
There's a small volcanic island off the southern coast of Japan.
Yeah, he's so good at editing. You always got to hand it to him, okay?
Nobody lives here. But here's footage from January 2023 of construction workers arriving to this island. Their task is to build a couple of runways on the island and some storage facilities for ammunition. The Japanese government has been paying local fishermen to stay away from this island. That's because they're turning it into a military base. The island is being built by Japan, but one of its main purposes...
Which is very cool and good. I sure hope China's not doing that. Because if they are doing that, then that's not cool and not good. Not good. Not good or nor.
Has to do with the United States. American fighter jets and aircraft carriers have had to do their drills and practices down here on this island.
What?
But now
That's so
they're
far
able
away.
to station at this island, moving them much closer to this ocean and to one country in particular.
China.
Magashima is just one of many islands that are being loaded up with military hardware, most of it coming from the United States. It's part of this chain of militarized islands, an effort of defense or aggression, depending on how you look at it. It's a line that centers on Taiwan. And it's what one official was referring to when they said that 2023 is likely to stand.
By the way, Janet Yellen is currently in China today, talking to them about God knows what.
And as the most transformative year in U.S. force posture in this region in a generation. This line is a symbol of the rising tensions between global superpowers. And I want to show you why this is happening now and what it means for the future of this conflict.
This is unlike anything the U.S. Navy has done since World War II.
Tensions are rising in one of the most hotly contested regions on the planet, the South China Sea.
Why is it one of the most hotly contested places on the planet? A question we must ask ourselves. Like, I'm sorry, I always have to ask, why is America there? Like, no, I know that we have this attitude where, like, of course we have to be there to preserve freedom, right? But it's like, but why are we there, really? What's up with that?
Doesn't make any sense.
Here we go.
There would be tension without the U.S., though? No, there wouldn't. What? No, there wouldn't.
Look, islands just militarize themselves, you know.
Okay,
Eventually.
so this document from the U.S. Department of Defense. This document is called the National Defense Strategy of the United States of America, which also includes the Nuclear Posture Review and Missile Defense Review. It's basically a report that they release every 4 years that gives us an understanding of what the U.S. military is up to, what they care about.
Like China and who would have tension without the U.S.? Imagine no U.S. involvement in that region. What you think the Filipinos are going to rise up against the Chinese or something? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Motherfuckers be like, Japan? Really? Okay. Like, current day Japan? No, we're not talking about India, okay? We're talking about that part of the world. China is massive, so obviously there's tension on all sides. But even then, even with India.
But this year's is more detailed than normal. The document focuses a lot on China.
If China threatens our sovereignty, concerns directly with China.
The DoD says that China, quote, remains our most consequential strategic competitor for coming decades. Why? Because, the Pentagon says, China is bullying its neighbors to, quote, reshape the region and the international system to fit its authoritarian preferences. Now, remember, the United States, who spends loads on its military, has set
they just hate democracy.
That's what it... Fuck, I was thinking, like, what is China trying to do? Oh, they're trying to stop stop the Indian democratic process from taking root, or the Philippines, the Filipino democratic process from maintaining its blossoming democracy. Or
I think just the idea of a Filipino person voting is just like so hard to deal with for a
yeah,
Chinese person.
they hate that, dude. Fuck it, Japan. The democratic process in Japan, like a functionally one-party state that America designed, okay? Like, it's always funny to think about these countries. Like, I love Japan. You guys know this is not a fucking, it's not a meme. But let's be real. Like, these are all client states. Client states with an effectively one-party form of governance that you would never consider a democracy by, like, Western standards. You know what I mean? Anyway. It's just
rules for our global order, how we trade, what political systems we favor, who participates in the system. And now we see a country that wants to dethrone them, to create a new system based on other values and other rules.
Yeah. Unlike...
And what scares the US military is that China is rapidly modernizing and expanding their military. China's military is growing incredibly fast. Like, they deploy the equivalent of an entire new British Navy every 4 years. Every 4 years, like
what's
new,
the British
new
Navy?
British
Though?
Navy,
That's
like
not
new
a...
Royal Navy every 4 years. Yeah, they're just growing very quickly. This report is concerned about China's growing strength and military footprint.
Again, we're scared of Chinese military footprint growing because they're growing and have a defensive posture against who? Against American client states and the American Navy that's there, okay? Thousands of miles away from the U.S. coastline. What the fuck?
Wait, there aren't any big American cities in China? I thought there was like some melting. Where's Denver?
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, it might as well be China. It might as well be in China. It's close. 881 bases around the planet. Yeah, I mean, technically, if you consider it that way, China is bordering the United States of America.
Those bases.
If you think about Taiwan as like an American base, then, you know, all of a sudden, things get real spicy.
How China is coercing its neighbors, disregarding ocean boundaries, testing missiles, bullying fishing vessels in other countries.
Like, this entire video is only we get to do that. And not even in our backyard, which we already did that.
Neighbors.
But other people's backyards we get to do that in. And you can't do that.
Countries' waters, building islands and military bases on those islands.
China's building
and
islands?
flying over other countries' airspace. And especially in Taiwan.
I knew
the
it.
island that China claims as their own and where the globe
Also
gets
that we
nearly
claim
all of
as
their advanced
China's.
microchips, which is a topic I made an entire
Okay, to be fair, yeah, as Alexa also pointed out, it's not just China that claims that it is Chinese. It's the United States of America that also has maintained that same position since motherfucking Nixon, which is a position that they have routinely lied about. And it's not just me saying this, like, this is very clearly the American foreign policy. The very clear American foreign policy has always been, it's China. It has some level of autonomy from China, but they call it strategic ambiguity, where they were not supposed to, from its inception as an anti-communist military dictatorship that was like completely psychotic, all the way to the modern democratic process that you see in Taiwan. America's position went from, no, actually, KMT Taiwan, that is literally China, okay? And like the entire Western territory that is mainland China belongs to Taiwan, as a matter of fact, to, okay, never mind, maybe the communists aren't so bad. It quite literally is, Taiwan is still China. It just has like a different system. And that has been our position.
It's like 50% of the vote in Taiwan often goes to the like legacy KMT guys who still think they're China.
Yeah.
You know, like, especially the bigger and stronger China gets, it like tickles these old nationalists.
Yeah. But I mean, that's like the overwhelming majority just don't want to rock the boat. I've looked into polling in Taiwan on this issue quite a lot. Most people just say, listen, yeah, we would prefer to be autonomous. We would prefer to be independent for sure. Like, that's understandable. But overall, the current system that we have is much better than what could potentially happen, which is rocking the boat. Okay. No, most people just want the current system that they have is fine. Let's continue going the way that we're going and not fuck this shit up. Whereas, Nancy Pelosi's like, I got some other ideas. Okay, I got some different ideas. I mean, and again,
on Taiwan, I reiterated the long-standing U.S. One China policy. That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences.
I think China should just take Australia.
Yes.
I think China should be like, all right, you can have Taiwan. Australia is ours.
I mean, if you ask a lot of right-wing people in Australia, that's already happened.
That has already happened, right? Yeah.
That's
They
why-
did it through immigration.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, China are in absolutely no rush to annex Taiwan or whatever. Is the U.S. who wants to provoke a conflict in the hope that they can
Yeah.
somehow ruin the Chinese economy before it totally surpasses the American economy? That is correct.
Well,
yes.
that's what America has in the bag is like a military strength. So,
America
like,
would
you
never do that.
invade another country or
No, agitate like any kind of group of individuals that are in a position of power that they placed that would then go and try to drum up support and maybe create any kind of like civil chaos or even all-out war. They would never do that. They've never done that historically speaking, and they certainly will never do that, surely, and aren't doing that in Taiwan. While Anthony Blinken is like, one nation, 2 systems.
Do
We
you get
remain
much?
committed to meeting our
Is there much pushback on it here? Like in Australia, it's like bipartisan, the anti-China stuff. Like you can't
dude.
find anyone who's
Dude, it is super bipartisan here as well. Oh my lord. We're always on a like who fucking hates China more kick.
yeah.
Like Joe Biden's like, "No, I'll execute the Chinese. Just wait, Jack." And then Donald Trump's like, "I've killed so many Chinese. We hate them." Donald Trump literally claims that Joe Biden, because he had like some documents in a facility in Chinatown, that like he was actually working with the Chinese because he thinks Chinatown, which exists in like every fucking large American city.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Is technically Chinese. They think it's Chinese soil. Anyway, let's
our
continue.
responsibilities under the Taiwan Relations Act, including making sure that Taiwan has the ability to defend itself.
Anyway, but this was shocking for a lot of people who have just like, who don't know anything about American-Chinese relations or like America's foreign policy on China, but instead have just been like paying attention to how bad China is. So they're like genuinely shocked when they heard this. They were like, what? I can't believe Blinken reiterated like long-standing foreign policy with China like this. What the fuck?
Our video about. The point is, Taiwan is an incredibly important island for the United States. All of this together makes China, quote, the only country that has the intent and power to actually challenge the US-led global order and rewrite global rules and norms, something the US has gotten really comfortable doing over the last 70 years. So this is why the US considers China the most consequential strategic competitor for coming decades. And they've created a plan to respond. And in their words, we cannot delay. They give themselves this 10-year window to
I gotta start
implement some
highlighting
major
stuff in my
changes.
videos more.
And this is what it looks like. Okay, first things first.
I've
The
never
US
highlighted.
military is already very present in Asia. We've got about 8,000 troops in Guam. We've got over 100 bases.
Wait, what is this? By making a stance and say that we can stand with Taiwan, we make sure that they stay democratic. China won't ever attack Taiwan, so this is good. Okay, you lost me there. Anytime you fucking claim that America is like legitimately defending democracy, it's over. Okay, it's a wrap. I will never take you seriously. America does not give a single shred of a fuck about the democratic process. We don't even have a democratic process here in the United States of America. Have you seen the Senate? Have you seen the Electoral College? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just completely about whatever their strategic interests are, okay? No, they do not. They fear multipolarity. That's it. That's literally it. Because it's not like China is going to become the single force, the hegemonic power that the United States is. They don't have 800 fucking military bases around the world. They don't have They don't have like their own version of a world war and then like the Marshall Plan post World War II. You know what I mean? They can't do all of that. They don't have the fucking NATO. They don't even have an interest in it. You can say yet all you want. Yet. Everything you're talking about. Yet. But what if they do? Okay. I like you. I really do. But it's not good to actually be for their independence. I don't agree with the U.S., but by talking like this, you make it seem like you are pro-China. First of all, I am pro-China. Okay. So make no mistake on that front. I am pro-China. I do not mind multipolarity. I do not fear multipolarity. So on that front, I am definitely pro-China, as pro-China as it gets.
You go.
No, you go. Go. No.
They just got a nicer track record in terms of wars. Like once they start doing more of them, maybe I'll be less pro-China. But like
fair.
They've done like 2, in like 70 years.
Chosen reservoir, baby.
Yeah. And one of them was glorious.
Yeah, it was fucking glorious. So, geez, your foreign policy take is so bad. This is like the Crimea stuff in Hong Kong. You can't be a social. I know Hong Kong is famously on fire.
Yeah.
I always check in with Hong Kong to see how bad things are in Hong Kong. Because remember, they when the Chinese took over, they executed everyone. Yeah. It was so crazy. It was wild. The only difference and the only thing that I do criticize China on is their lack of their lack of interest in social libertarianism for sure. I think that I am significantly more pro civil liberties and pro freedom of speech than the Chinese government is. And I don't even make the same kinds of, I would say, I don't even make the same kind of excuse that I would make for Cuba, an island that has been constantly under war for, their lack of interest in like free speech. That is absolutely something that I am very critical on with respect to China. But Hasan being shocked that the normies in the chat really don't fuck with his foreign policy takes. No, I'm not shocked at that at all. This is like a big part of what differentiates me from a lot of other, I would say, left-leaning, left-adjacent content creators in the United States of America. This is why they always say Hasan is so American-centric. Hong Kong is no longer a democracy because of China.
It was so democratic.
Yeah.
Fuck. And then
I know.
Now people are living in like tiny little cages in apartments, like that wasn't a thing before.
Schadenfreude, our Indian chatter who is anti-China, says, you can't consider China here to be a harmless victim. Tibet happened. 1962 war happened. The recent Chinese attack on India happened, and they're just doing this for saber rattling, and they have been interfering in politics in a lot of nations in the neighborhood. And the reason isn't some stupid reason like spreading authoritarian system. They're just doing it, their own Washington doctrine. I don't disagree with the last part about this though.
Yeah.
They absolutely are. They do have, how do I put this gently? I think that it's not as expansionist in the same way that like American foreign policy is.
Also, if you're surrounded by American client states, you do have an interest in how they turn out. Like,
yeah, I've said this a lot about regional powers. They're not superpowers, but regional powers always want to maintain a level of control in surrounding regions. And obviously, the only way you can do that is if you are America's lapdog, like Turkey, for example. Look at what the fuck Turkey's doing in the northern Syrian corridor and understand that, like, that is totally allowed if you are a NATO country. That is totally allowed if America lets you do it. That's it. When you are seen at odds with the United States of America's interests in the region, then you can't do that. Look at Israel. Israel's another example. Golan Heights is, again, piece of Syria that they like have been able to overtake. It's not even in any fucking by any metric Israeli territory. There's nothing Israel about that. Hasan, do you think China is the bastion of progress more than the US? No.
That is what he's been saying. To be fair, like,
I have been secretly. I've been maintaining the secret position that China is the bastion of social progress. All right,
bases in Japan with about 21,000 American troops on the mainland and another 24,000 stationed down here on the Japanese island of Okinawa. Go up to South Korea and you'll find 22,000 US troops. And then you've got the US Navy who operates out of this port in Singapore. This has been the status quo in Asia for decades. And it has been the way that the US has ensured security for its allies. And it's kind of mostly worked to help secure American interests and deter conflict. The US has maintained strong alliances in this region. And frankly, the Pentagon has kind of been distracted with...
Yeah, look at all the saber rattling China's doing. Did you see that?
But it's also funny, like, ensuring their security. It's like they must be taken over by America to make sure they're safe from being taken over by someone else.
What's the Navy? I think the American foreign policy position is literally considering the Philippines as like an unmovable, like military cruiser. They literally treat the Philippines as like, especially with like the recent elections and the new form of governance in the Philippines. They consider that to be the unsinkable aircraft carrier. And you know, it's great. It's wonderful. But yeah, they say an unsinkable aircraft carrier. That's what they consider it. But you know, it's not saber rattling. That's just ensuring that the client states have security.
Other things. 2 wars that happened in the Middle East over the past 20 years.
My fellow citizens.
But as those conflicts wind down, and as China militarizes, the Department of Defense says that this status quo, all of these troops in Asia, it's not enough. They talk about this new kind of deterrence. Integrated deterrence. The only kind of military posture that will actually keep China at bay. And this is what it looks like. The smallest part of the strategy has to do with American bases. They're going to reopen a base in Guam and move some troops there. But the majority of this strategy has to do with American allies in Asia. Allies that are in lockstep with the US's goal to deter and contain China. The Pentagon calls partnering with its allies the center of gravity for this strategy. So let's start with Japan, one of the US's closest allies in the region. Japan is a country that is deeply concerned about a more powerful China, with its massive navy and its ambitions to control Taiwan. And it's very easy to forget.
Why does Japan care about Taiwan?
What do you mean, dude?
Like,
of course
Japanese homeland of Taiwan.
Yeah, no, they care about it. Just don't worry about it. They care. Maybe it's because
Australia cares about it. So, like, if Australia feels enough of a connection to Taiwan, I'm sure Japan does.
Yeah, dude, they care because they hate the undemocratic Chinese rule. They were really critical of like the original Taiwan governance when it was just like a genocidal military dictatorship. They were like, Taiwan, why are you doing this? Come on,
we have
guys.
to contain you, Taiwan. Or
yeah, that's what they kept saying. Same with South Korea, as a matter of fact. When South Korea also was a genocidal military dictatorship and then changed its structure of governance from that to 6 chaeballs in a suit jacket, which is very different now and totally again very democratic. Well, they have an incel president, which is cool.
Yeah.
I do think that's cool to have like a guy who literally ran on like women fucking suck candidacy. Important to note that the 11- line that he calls the Chinese claim is actually a claim that Taiwan also advances Lamau. Where is the
closest ally?
Well, they also there's a funny little trick that maybe me as a Turkish person I'm a little bit more aware of that like Western forces always utilize. They'll constantly say, Taiwanese airspace and China is flying on Japanese and Taiwanese airspace. And if you don't really pay attention to the map, you will look at that and go, oh, wow, that's really fucked up that they're flying in Taiwanese airspace, until you fucking realize that it's literally the border. It's the fucking landmass. The Chinese landmass where it ends and the water begins is basically fucking not Chinese airspace, according to a lot of Westerners. Why am I saying this? Because they did the same thing with Turkey and Greece, okay? There are a lot of circumstances where there's a lot of like there's a lot of tricky situations with like the Turkish military and the Greek military constantly just like fucking around with one another, because if you look at like the Turkish airspace, it ends at the border where the landmass ends, okay? I mean, that's insane. That's an insane way to operate. Okay, this was from I think this was like the airspace closed against Russia or something. This was when there was a battle, but like this is the fucking Turkish airspace. Look at this. Does that make sense to you? Taiwanese airspace.
Wait, what? The whole square? No, the line.
I don't know if this is where it ends. I think it does. I think Taiwanese airspace technically is Chinese landmass too.
And the Taiwanese fucking breathe a lot. They're sucking in all that air from mainland China.
CNN reporter, why is this Chinese
two-seater that they say is armed with air-to-air missiles, and it's been shadowing this U.S. Navy plane now for about 15 minutes. It is pretty remarkable to see this Chinese warplane operating at such close proximity, just several hundred feet away.
It is interesting that China got so close to our plane.
Yeah, what the fuck?
The
Why
country
are you
just like moved towards where
it's literally is like the why are you hitting yourself, but on a global scale. It's like, dude, what is your plane doing there? You know what I mean? We understandably took care of a fucking balloon that was Chinese that happened to fly over U.S. airspace because it caught like the wrong wind current, which we again openly admitted months later was not doing any kind of spy reconnaissance, as I correctly told you at the time. And everyone was like, Hasan, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm like, why would they do that? They have satellites. The best way to do actual reconnaissance is put fucking cameras. If you want like up close and personal photographs of like, I don't know, some military base dude's asshole hairs, then you just strap cameras under a fucking low flying Cessna or under a private jet. Okay, you don't have to fucking literally fly this like dumbass balloon that's like clearly visible. Okay, or just use, you know, the satellites that they have. Anyway, and remember what we did? We blew that shit up. Air defense identification zones in East Asia.
Oh, so the blue square is Taiwan.
Yeah.
There's like a huge chunk of.
What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with that. It's like they deserve that land. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
is there not enough China for you that like they can't take some of it? Give some of China.
It's a pretty big country
to Taiwan. It's a big country. Anyway, the best part about that was that we shot missiles at a high school weather balloon after that. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's like the most American thing you can do is get like so schizophrenic about both aliens and also a potential Chinese air assault that you start blowing up like weather balloon projects that high schoolers have made. Anyway, where the fuck were we? Let's get back to the Johnny Harris video.
Japan is a country that is deeply concerned about a more powerful China, with its massive navy and its ambitions to control Taiwan. And it's very easy to forget that Japan isn't just this. It's actually all of this. It extends way down here because of all these islands. These islands curve nicely all the way.
They aren't gonna watch it. They're just going to call him a tanky if they even know who Bad Empanada is. They aren't a serious person.
Way down till they hit Taiwan. All of these are Japanese islands.
We aren't a serious
I mean,
person.
if you look at Japan's national defense strategy, translated into English, you will see something that looks strikingly similar to what the Pentagon released. They're both really freaked out about China, and they both are ready to act in lockstep to deter a more aggressive China in the region. So it starts up here with that island.
I love the idea that the security state in China and Japan and America just like coincidentally wrote exactly the same thing.
It's so weird.
It's just like, it just means they agree with each other, you know?
Yeah, it's just so odd that, yeah, I mean, they clearly are, yeah. How many?
They're just kindred spirits.
Yeah, that's why Japanese people famously love American military bases on the island. It's just like, they're just friendly with one another. They just, yeah, they have similar opinions. That's why they were like, hey, can you, after you are done, you know, using the atom bomb on us twice, can you please write our constitution? That's what the Japanese said.
An airstrip to be used by both Japanese and US militaries. Further south is Amami Island, where Japan has recently added long-range missiles and anti-ship missiles. Potentially they're going to add cruise missiles. These are missiles that they're buying from the United States. These are missiles that are definitely in range of the Taiwan Strait. Next to the chain is Okinawa, where the US has a huge presence of tens of
very famously beloved U.S. military presence in Okinawa. They're like, oh my God. They love that.
I only found out recently, you said you knew about this for ages, that Psy, Gangnam Style guy.
Oh yeah!
was like riffing about like killing American soldiers.
He called like American soldiers like baby killers.
Yeah.
It was
He's
awesome.
like, I want to strangle
Yeah.
them.
Thousands of troops already. Japan also has military bases here and is
As an Okinawan person, the U.S. Army treats us like dogs and sex objects is sad as hell. Yeah, I was being sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic with most of the things I'm saying.
But
for the
imagine what
record.
China would do.
Yeah, but yeah.
Come on.
Well, when you talk about the Chinese and Japanese relations,
Oh yeah, maybe.
you know, maybe
pretty
China
naughty.
could be worse. I don't know. I don't know if they got revenge on the mind, for example. But you know, not modern China, at least, as far as we know. I was deployed to Japan in 2014 with the Navy. The week before I got there, two sailors got drunk, couldn't afford their cab ride home, so they beat up the cab driver, put him in the trunk, and then drove the cab on base. Jesus Christ.
adding even more long-range missiles and electronic warfare units for military installations meant to disrupt and deny communication signals. On these two islands down here, they're adding even more long-range missiles, which could potentially be used to attack Chinese naval ships and aircraft. And Japan is
Guys, this is for defense. This is defensive posturing. It's classic.
placing nearly 600 troops on Ishigaki as well. And finally, you've got this last militarized island in the chain, Yonaguni. It's the closest island to Taiwan. And here, Japan is adding more of those electronic warfare.
By the way, if by some magic, okay, not saying that this is happening, not saying that this could ever happen, if by some change of heart, that the entirety of the Taiwanese population was like, actually, we're Chinese. What the fuck are we talking about? Let's just openly be, pro-China. If you think those missile bases would not be turned on Taiwan, which would now be like fully, openly,
Authoritarian.
openly authoritarian and Chinese, you're out of your fucking mind. Okay.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's fake news. I saw some article maybe like a year ago that China was planning to build the world's longest like underwater railway, connecting mainland to Taiwan.
Can't do that. How is this not considered escalation? We are literally aiming our guns at them. Guys, it's defensive. Ugh. Didn't you hear what Johnny said? He said it's defensive because China, coincidentally, or not China, sorry, Japan and America have the same fear of China, coincidentally, verbatim. Yeah, it's the Defense Department.
I don't know. It's just so sad.
Yeah,
Seeing like
like when North Korea is doing defensive military testing, like missile testing, they're doing it defensively. Okay. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's a foreign adversary. They're doing it to scare Japan because they're gonna nuke America and then nuke Japan first, which is like kind of like an extension of Hawaii, I would say. So that's why they're doing that. But when Japan is doing it and America's doing it, it's a defensive nuke. The nuke was just defense. Okay, first of all, America literally claims that the atom bombs were defensive because the firebombing campaign was significantly worse for Japan overall than the two atom bombs. If you've never talked to like an American history nut, I don't know what to tell you, but there is quite literally that is literally the take. They consider
like
it
we did something worse, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, they have genuinely and openly explained that like the atom bomb had to happen so that the firebombing campaigns would stop.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's really good. I didn't get that. That's hilarious.
That's not even a joke though. That's like actually the position.
What people believe.
Signals or to listen in on their communications. They're right next to China. Japan is also positioning more troops here. So this is the first part of our chain. And when paired with training that Japan and US troops are doing to simulate island and amphibious warfare, it sends a really strong signal to China that Japan is ready to respond if needed. This line also serves as like a physical
Not as
barrier
an aggressor,
that any
they're
Chinese
responding to
ship
something.
or submarine would have to pass through in order to access the Pacific Ocean. It's a line that Japan can easily control and monitor. And it also builds a wall of missiles. Any calculus that China is making.
Dude, look at all of these cool little missile systems that just happen to surround China. Like, look at that.
It's cool that this chain of island just somehow belongs to like an ex-colonial power that expanded all across Asia. Like all these natural parts of Japan are just like coming all the way down to China.
Yeah, and also then the rest of it is like it's like pieced through all of the other allies.
Yeah.
Surely this is just simply for defensive posturing.
on whether or not to invade Taiwan or to do anything in the region will have to now factor in this wall of missiles ready to roll. Overall, this increased military presence on this chain of islands gives Japan, and by extension the United States, the ability to monitor communications and troop movements of China, preparing them to act quickly. And it also gives them the ability to pre-position troops and supplies throughout the region, which is a major logistical advantage. But all of this comes with a massive price tag. So Japan, which is formerly a pacifist nation without like a
famously the famously pacifist nation of Japan.
Where did they?
What? No way, dude. Come on. Okay, look. Goddamn. Listen. I love Japan. I don't love Japan that much to just be like, famously pacifist. They mean after World War II.
Wait, they weren't involved in the war on terror, or they invaded Korea with the Americans. No, were they chilling the whole time?
I actually don't know Japanese involvement after World War II in other shit. I think they were. He said formally, not famously. Formally, they're pacifist because of anime and they're so kawaii. Pacified, not pacifist. I mean, that seems like a more realistic way to approach the situation. That is they are pacified. That part is true. Since World War II, that is not fake. That part is real. So that does make sense.
Is actually planning to double their defense spending. They're spending way more on buying weapons than they ever have before, and 97% of those weapons are coming from the United States. The island chain strategy.
97% of their weapons are coming from the United States. Japan did not involve themselves in Korea. Japan military, while better than you think, is very restrained in its involvement vis-a-vis Korea and Vietnam.
Strategy continues down here with the Philippines, close to Taiwan and close to the South.
Well, you had to tie that somehow. You know what I mean? And then you have Vietnam right here. You have Vietnam. That's it. No gaps.
The U.S. knows that it needs to bolster its presence here, but it's not as straightforward as it is in Japan. The Philippines was a U.S. colony for decades. It's a very sensitive history. And even after Filipino independence, the U.S. maintained a military presence in the Philippines until like the 90s. And then they eventually kicked out the U.S. as many saw it as just an enduring legacy of U.S. colonialism. But a more aggressive China has become a major threat to the Philippines. Now listen, I'm not going to go into like a full South China Sea thing here, but just know that China claims all of this as their.
Doesn't the Chinese, the Chinese government not even recognize the Maoist rebels in the Philippines? Like they don't even give a fuck.
Yeah, they're funding the the Filipino government fight them, giving them weapons.
No, I don't think the Chinese government is funding the Maoist rebels. No,
the Filipino government against them. I think it was like they did a little swapsy in like 2016 or something. Let me see.
Yeah, Johnny not getting into the nitty gritty of that, I guess, huh? Yeah, I mean, it's like, just focus on the issue at hand, okay? Which is that China is a threat and China is scary, okay? And, maybe it was a U.S. colony for a while. And maybe since then we still use it as again, like I said, unsinkable U.S. aircraft carrier. He's right. They're funding the official government and not the Maoist rebels. Yeah, their position is that they have like a neutral. They're neutral with the Filipino government.
Their maritime boundary. It's literally a line with 9 dashes that some Chinese official in 1948 drew by hand on a map. This line blasts through the boundaries that the rest of the world recognizes as the Filipino territorial waters. So there's a conflict in the ocean. And now, on a daily basis, Filipino fishing vessels are harassed by Chinese military vessels who threaten them if they don't leave their waters. In 2022, China put a temporary stop to all fishing in the South China Sea, denying the Philippines' ability to fish in the West Philippine Sea, which is rightfully their waters.
Hasan spreading fascist propaganda takes. America can be bad, but that doesn't make fascists good. Hasan coming out with weird takes. What have I said that's like, what did I just say? The map that Taiwan also claims is theirs. What have I said so far that's like even remotely fascist? So we're trying to take over the world or something if we're an alien? What?
But it's crazier than that. The Chinese Navy is like full-blown just bullying the Philippines. They like show up with lasers to harass and blind Filipino ships. I mean, let's remember, the Philippines is a much smaller nation than China and doesn't really have a navy even close to what China has. So now they're in this impossible decision. They have to choose between giving up their sovereignty and fishing rights to their aggressive neighbor, China, or partnering with their former colonizer who also wants to repel China. And in this case, they chose the latter.
China has pushed too hard. It's pushed the Philippines in the South China Sea, what they call the West Philippine Sea.
The Philippines is planning to boost its military presence in the disputed South China Sea.
It started in 2014 when they allowed the US back in for the first time in 22 years. The US presence will technically be in bases that are owned by the Philippines, but the US can have troops, build barracks, and other military installations, and can have pre-positioned supplies there as well. It's basically like the US has bases there, but it's like, shh, it's actually the Philippines. And as part of all of this that we've been talking about, in late 2022, they expanded their agreement, giving the US military access to 4 more bases, bringing the total number of bases on the Philippines up to 9. And
That's
look where
how
they
you
selected to put them.
And then that's how you do it. That's how you fucking close the gap.
Here in the north of the country, strategically close to Taiwan, and helping fill their gap in their...
Where is the mention of Vietnam? They also have issue with the South China Sea claims. I don't know if Johnny will talk about Vietnam, but Vietnam is also obviously very anti-China.
Yeah.
They love America.
Island chain that they're creating. This now allows US to have a military presence really close to Taiwan. The US trains very closely with their Filipino counterparts, making them ready to respond very quickly to an invasion in Taiwan, while also repelling Chinese bullying of Filipino fishing activity. Okay, so now the island chain is filling out, giving the US and its regional partners a solid blockade to the Pacific. And it continues all the way down around the South China Sea because of the US presence.
Johnny Harris, our favorite.
We're watching a video about why it's really dangerous. Like China is really dangerous, which is why we need to have all of these missile systems directly pointed at it and basically surround its southern access to waters as best as possible. Luckily, America's there.
Yeah,
you can join, dude. You guys love streaming, dude. Just fucking say it.
I think also luckily, coincidentally, a lot of these countries defense papers are identical, word for word to America's. So it's good everyone agrees,
it's cool. It's cool when it just works out like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
when your friend knows what you're thinking, you don't even have to say it.
Yeah,
I love that shit.
Yeah, it's just perfect. If America didn't surround China, your freedom to stream would be in danger. Mark my words.
What, you mean streaming is over?
What the fuck? Yeah. Australia is turning into America forward operating base too, by the way.
That's actually the worst bit. It actually scares me. As soon as there's a war in Taiwan, we're going to be at war.
Also, the northern part of Australia is fucked. Darwin is just filled with all American bases, all American planes.
Fucked? You mean free?
Free.
Weird that you're saying
That's
it's
the wrong
fucked
F word.
when it feels like it's free, and also you have nuclear submarines. So
we're getting them.
That's
we're in Vladivostok, next to a nuclear submarine base, and we were camping. And when you dive down there, the kind of mussels you get in the ocean are just 5 times the size of the normal ones.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's awesome, and they're delicious. It tastes like a steak.
What's going to happen?
So if they can put one of those nuclear submarine bases anywhere near me in Sydney, that would be so good. I'd be eating the biggest, juiciest seafood.
Yeah. What do you mean? It's great. Awesome. Tastes like freedom to me. You said steak.
Actually delicious.
Yeah, you said steak.
It's the only seafood you'll be able to eat. It tastes like beef.
All right.
Singapore. This is a very united front, but it doesn't stop here. The last part of the strategy is potentially the most significant, and it has to do with Australia, a country that is also alarmed by China's
We're so
rise
alarmed.
in the region. So there's this military pact between the US, the UK, and Australia. It's called AUKUS. What it means is that these 3 countries will work together to create a unified submarine force that will patrol the Pacific.
Thank God.
What it means is that the US is giving nuclear submarine technology, its most powerful and advanced weapon, freely to Australia.
Wait. No, we paid dumb amounts of money for those submarines.
What do you mean? It's free. Johnny Harris said it's free, so he's...
Wait, wasn't it 20 billion or
it was
90
more.
billion?
It was fucking so much money. And like the best thing is like we just paid all this money and then
for free.
For free. Thank you.
I think if you pay taxes for equipment, you should have a right every single day. They should just do like a lottery where you get to use it. So I should
That's
get
brilliant.
to drive
I
the
love
nuclear
that.
submarine.
Okay, you know what? I agree with that.
Yeah.
That would make things. That would also improve, military spending on U.S. toys.
Yep.
Because everyone would be like, "Well, I want to ride the fucking submarine."
Yeah, it's fucking sick.
Yeah.
At least let me shoot a torpedo out of a nuclear sub.
Wait, what do you reckon he's referring to when he says free?
Well, maybe we'll find out.
Or he just said it and he moved on.
To our most powerful weapons, take them, foreign country. And then the U.S. and UK will base submarines.
We paid an insane amount of money, like
to
crazy billions of dollars for this.
Here are the designs to.
But then it's also just funny because with the big ceremony, fucking
That's so weird.
368 billion.
Just, dude.
But then also, like, at the ceremony, Joe Biden just forgets the name of our prime minister after we forked over $368 billion submarine. He's like, that Australian guy.
That's what you're insulted about? We have prime minister
It's
changes
just
every year.
It's just
very
extra funny.
understandable.
It's just funny. It's just an extra little, just
You're like, if he remembered it, I would be fine with this.
It's bad decorum, you know?
Yeah, there's no dignity here. I mean, this is great.
Why would he say that?
They're gonna forgive the loans, like it's a PPP loan. No, Hasan, don't you see the IP is free? The sub costs $368 billion.
Wait,
yeah,
so we should be paying
no,
more.
it was free. It was free, and that's why France was so mad.
Yeah. Because they wanted to give us free stuff.
Because France was like, no, we want to give you guys the free nuclear submarines. It's like really fucked up that America's doing that instead. Like really messed up.
It's just insane paying for the right to be like a American military base.
Yeah. It's like paying for a really expensive gun and then they're like, now you have to shoot the guy, the next guy.
Now go kill Chinese people.
Yeah.
Welcome to America, buddy. Club Aussies from a Canadian. Yeah. Dude, it's so crazy. These nuclear submarines just fell off the back of a pickup truck. That's why they're so mint and so cheap.
Are you referring
our most powerful weapons
to the block of nuclear waste that fell off the back of a pickup truck recently in Australia?
Wait, that's the thing that
I thought that was like, that's the most amazing reference I've ever heard.
No, I was just saying that's like a classic bit where they'll say like, oh, I got these radios, I got these stereos, they fell off the back of a pickup truck over here, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was nuclear waste that fell off the back of a pickup truck.
Literally like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Take them, foreign country. And then the US and UK will base submarines out of this port here in Australia. It's called Perth. Australian sailors will ride alongside US and UK sailors during submarine deployments. They will learn together, they will work together, they will share classified intelligence. What this means is that there will be a significantly larger number of submarines patrolling these waters. And remember, these are nuclear.
There's nothing weird about that.
Yeah. No, they're talking about them like they're fish. They're just swimming around.
It's actually so good that this is happening. And that, why is China even remotely worried about that?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? These are defensive nuclear weapons.
On their border.
Yeah, what? Like, so odd.
I love that what China's doing is saber rattling.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
just a silent submarine just cruising around. No noise, no rattling.
You can't see it. Shut up, China. It's under the water. What do you
Australia
want?
defending their trade routes with China from China.
The best way to proceed was to get everyone in the one room.
Good thinking.
Okay, you're all right. I'll come straight to the point. This white paper is recommending we spend close to $400 billion over the forward estimates. Now, at some point, the PM is going to be asked a very simple question. In order to protect us from which enemy?
It's so hard to say.
400 billion, pick one.
A regional player.
Specifically, Colonel.
An Indo-Pacific regional player.
More specifically?
Indo-Asia Pacific.
That's broader. Who are you leaving out?
Europe?
Yeah, I sort of need a country.
Or an unaligned player.
No, a country.
One that might threaten us. Just one.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said Laos.
I wouldn't want to raise tensions.
Where?
In this room.
You know what? I'll name one and you just nod. China. Yeah? Okay. And what exactly are we protecting?
Strategic interests.
Specifically, Colonel?
Indo-Pacific strategic
Again,
interests.
Brigadier, really specifically.
Indo-Asia Pacific strategic
You know what?
interests.
I'll say it and then you nod. Our trade routes. Yeah? And who is our number one trading partner?
Shall we use the nod system?
Sure. China? Yeah. So under this scenario, we're spending close to $30 billion a year to protect our trade with China. from China.
Yeah.
And that doesn't strike anyone at this table as odd?
I think one of the nicest things for us about being part of an American client state is that it gives lots of opportunities for satire. It creates our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very funny.
If America wasn't in control of Australia, man, what would we even? We'd have nothing. I'd have to go back to working a normal job.
True. This is
carnies.
not funny at all. Yeah, I know. It's not funny because it's very serious. It's
But that's why it is funny.
It's Australian foreign policy. It's not funny. I mean, it's pretty funny. But, you know, so, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing weird
Powered
about
submarines, which we made a whole video on as well. These things can be underwater for months. They can go on these long patrols over to Taiwan and the South China Sea. They can close up these key choke points, plugging holes in their growing line against China. And, crucially, we can be pretty damn certain that a lot of these submarines will be carrying nuclear weapons, adding yet another layer of deterring power to an already really powerful line of defense. And if this wasn't enough,
Dude,
Some of the ones that we already launched.
You
on
have to
people in
have,
the
yeah,
region.
you have to have, like, you have to double up on the defense to protect the region.
Dude, nuclear weapons are the best defensive weapons.
Everyone knows. It's never been used as an offensive. It's only a deterrence measure.
And it's also
Australia
it's not
is
a real
all-
threat 'cause it's never even been used in this region.
Yeah.
Like,
America is not. America has no interest in using their nuclear weapons on civilian territory, specifically on this map. Like a little bit, just like a little bit. If you peek up a little bit on the map, you
Then
might
he's excluded there, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, well, this map, they've never used it, technically. So what do you have to say to that? Okay, there's nothing else on the map.
also building
Saying.
a permanent hangar for US B-52 bombers up here in the Tyndall Air Base in northern Australia. These
More defensive weapons. Famously, historically, not used against, again, civilian positions. B-52 bombers, because they're so fucking large, oftentimes are they're defensive bombers, and they are defensively deployed on civilian territory to defensively eviscerate civilian territory.
I thought the way the bombers worked is that, like, when an enemy plane's there, they fly like a little bit above it and then drop the bombs onto that plane.
Yeah, that's how it
got
works.
bombs.
Yeah, that's how it works.
US bombers carry conventional weapons, but they also carry nukes. So now, US bombers carrying nuclear weapons will have a permanent home in Australia. There's going to be a lot.
He's talking about it like it's a puppy that you adopted. Oh, finally, these cuties, these little cutie patooties will have
Someone's
a
got to
permanent...
rehome these nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Man. They're out there. They got no owners.
You know what's so fucking annoying is that anytime there's like a proposition of making a nuclear reactor in Australia, massive petitions about
Yeah,
it.
everyone's like, no, they're going to destroy our country.
Yeah.
The submarines are in the water,
They're in
dude.
the water, doesn't matter.
They're in the water. Come on. It's just, that's different.
Someone's like, why are you promoting Johnny Harris?
Everybody wants fat clams. Okay,
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
that's
Fat clams are fucking good.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Also, what happened? Didn't we watch a Johnny Harris like video a week ago and he wasn't that bad? He was kind of
yeah.
like,
It's
he's
a
bit
give and
dodgy.
take. It's a give and take. If he does like one kind of anti-America video, he has to do like 8 anti-China ones.
But also he does like irrelevant stuff like US coups, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's safe. You're allowed to-
Shit that we've like declassified and flexed
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
openly.
Something the government says you're allowed to talk about now.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, this is great. I think that the U.S. military is planning for a war with China, and then the entire video is like why these bases have to exist. And he literally said, "It's great. It's great. Now there's nuclear submarines in the sea.
Australia gets nukes for free.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's awesome.
More military hardware in the Pacific because of this. Hardware that carries the most powerful and dangerous weapons we have. This is a very aggressive signal to China that the West is ready. So now, if you look at the whole thing, this whole chain, you see how robust this presence is. This is what that military official meant by transformative. The military name for this is the First Island Chain, and it is at the heart of the US and its allies' strategy to counter and contain China. And it's easy to see that this island chain, while protecting a lot of different interests for a lot of different countries, really centers on Taiwan. A major purpose for all of this militarization, the missiles,
to
the
defend
subs,
democracy in Taiwan.
the air bases, the troops, is to prepare for conflict in Taiwan. And this is where we get to the paradox of deterrence. You prepare to fight so that you don't have to fight. All of this preparation might be just what is needed for China to decide that it would be too costly to invade Taiwan.
Yeah, dude, totally. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, thank God. Oh my God. Thank God for the 385 billion Australian dollars, which is what, like 10 US dollars? That were spent on the nuclear submarines. So you could deter China from invading what the United States government, not me, the United States government claims is just more China. Okay? That's not me saying it. No. That's Anthony motherfucking Blinken saying it. Okay? That's what every American State Department official has said on record since Nixon. I'm just saying they just see it as more China with like, a little bit different of a system.
Other side of that paradox is that all of this looks an awful lot like overt escalation in a conflict. If you're China, this chain of islands is clearly your enemy trying to box you in, to monitor your every move. A superpower from the other side of the world flooding your region with more military hardware to stop your influence.
Yeah.
It would be impossible for this plan to not contribute to a rising of tensions between the two superpowers.
It's not
All
impossible for
this
it not
as
to.
the
It's like that's
U.S.
the intention
prepares
of it.
for a potential conflict with China.
How close are we to
To contain Beijing.
Where are they trying to go?
No,
what are you talking about?
Dude, I'm so glad that these guys are here to contain Beijing.
Like 95% of those weapons on Japanese islands are American.
Shit take us on. Arrogant and ignorant. No, you're right. Beijing needs to be contained. That's why it's perfectly valid for...
That's such a modest and not arrogant take.
Yeah. I'm so... No, I think like the only good take in the situation is if you say China are a bunch of genocidal, bloodthirsty monsters and all of America's allies who came to the conclusion that they need to defend democracy against Chinese anti-democratic interests, have to do so by purchasing metric tons of U.S. munitions
and nukes
and even nuclear submarines. Like, you got to do that. That's a thing that you have to do. Thank God.
Also, just the nukes, so overkill. Like,
come on.
The only use of a nuke is to blow up everything.
A city.
The entire city.
No, first of all, these are nuclear-powered submarines.
Oh.
That means they can be underwater for, months on end, okay? Secondly, even if they had nuclear warheads in the submarines, let's say, maybe. I mean, that stuff is classified. Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows if they have nuclear-powered submarines with nuclear warheads in them? They might. But even then, I present you with the alternative. Radiated clams.
Yep, I forgot about that.
That taste like steak.
Yeah.
I present you with the alternative. It's a defensive nuke.
Yeah.
Yes.
You shoot the nuke at another nuke in the air, and then it
because just let China have Taiwan, Pepega. That's what. Yeah. This is all done to stop China from having Taiwan, which the American government claims is more China. But But it's good to have this. It's just good to have it. Who amongst us does not need a couple spare nuclear warheads in a submarine?
It's nice.
Yeah.
I do feel safer. That's the one thing as an Australian. I feel like war is less likely in my country now that we have American bases and nukes.
Definitely.
I think the funniest part of this entire equation is that none of this shit matters, and the only thing that matters is trade. And every single country in this region, especially the United States of America and Australia, have incredible trade partnerships with China.
Yeah.
It's like their economy is reliant on Chinese manufacturing, and the Chinese economy is also reliant on U.S. purchases. So and Australian purchases and vice versa. So ultimately, all of this shit is dumb as fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, isn't the claim Taiwan is more China optics to make China happy? No, it's not optics to make China happy. It's just what they consider to be the truth, which they legitimately have always just been like, yeah, we're just going to say that, but like we're going to keep beefing up the island so that we can, eventually use it as a fucking as a weapon against China. There's no optics in that situation. It's called lying. Or if you're in the U.S. government, it's called strategic ambiguity, which is another word for lying, okay? That's what it is. And it's not like they lie about this. They openly state it. Like I said, they just rename lying and say it's strategic ambiguity, okay? Let's continue.
All this as the U.S. prepares for a potential conflict with China.
How close are we to all-out conflict between the world's two largest superpowers?
继续沿着错误的道路狂飙下去，再多的护栏也挡不住脱轨翻车，陷入对抗冲突。
Chinese President Xi Jinping has already called this a policy of encirclement and suppression. And let's be honest, he's right.
Yes,
whether you like it or
Johnny.
not, this is containment. Old school, Cold War style containment. It's hard not to see it when you look at this map. And the Chinese foreign minister said that it would literally be impossible for China to not fight back, to take a move that retaliates against this move. Which means that if the US and its allies aren't careful with all of this, it may send a signal to China that now is the time to invade Taiwan, before all of this plan can fully be implemented. In that sense, this strategy could provoke the very conflict that it is trying to.
So if they get one more nuke, then China's gonna be like, oh, that's too
it's
many.
done.
But not the level we have now. That's fine. We can deal with that.
I love still taking it at face value that it's like America trying to deter China from doing anything.
They don't care about Taiwan at all. Let's keep rolling the credits. I want to see if there's like a secret thing afterwards. You know, like the Minions where you get a song.
Oh yeah,
after
maybe he
the
does a
credits.
little dance,
a little song and dance. No. What?
Strategic and international studies. Let's see what that is.
Yeah, let's look that man up.
That's gonna be a fucking.